The start of the episode jumps us to the past, where we see Sir Arlen hacking a massive sword. Gods blessed him where his height failed. Dunk explains to the lords who Sir Arlen was, his final days, and just how important he was to Dunk. Lords Florent, Hayford, and Tyrell all claim not to know the man, despite Arlen having been in his service. Dunk remains determined to continue his search for someone to vouch for him. But why wouldn't Dunk ask Lionel? Lionel seems to love fun and took an interest in Dunk because of how unique looking he was. So I'd see it as an easy ask considering Dunk is on friendliest terms with him. Egg tells Dunk it's undignified to be begging the lords and asks why Dunk treats these royal lapdogs as his betters. And we see Dunk's perspective on his own standing. Duncan feels that they are his betters and should be treated as such. Their conversation is cut short when trumpets sound, heralding the Targaryen host. Egg gets cold feet and asks to be relieved to go check on the camp, something Dunk is fine with, as he himself has a plan. We see the heralds introduce us to most of the members of the current royal family. Prince Baelor, the current hand of the king and eldest son of King Daeron, his younger brother Maekar, who we find out has sons missing. Here's also where Lord Ashford introduces us to his daughter Gwyn, who was not named in the novel despite the whole tourney being in her honor. Dunk keeps his distance but is approached by a platinum blonde lordling named Arion, who is also the second son of Maekar. The young prince looks down upon him, saying knighthood has fallen on sad times, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense considering anyone knighted by a knight or lord can look like or be from anywhere. This is clearly just the prince being an ass. Dunk and Donald of Duskendale also have a conversation about Donald not coming from a lord's family, but that of a crab trader. And yet, he made it all the way into the service of the Kingsguard. Having Donald be someone Dunk can admire is a solid choice, and it's a shame that the same episodes ruins this by having Egg tell Dunk that Donald's family owns half the crabbing fleets in the kingdom. And while that alone doesn't ruin the message, it sure does muddy it, as Dunk will never be able to have the same connections Donald's family did. Another great scene is one immediately following. Maekar and Baelor are discussing Maekar's missing sons and family drama in the castle's keep. Dunk unintentionally spies, opting to wait until they're done before pitching to them that he is a knight and needs someone to vouch for him. He's caught by Ashford's daughter, Gwyn, who teases Dunk, and then is caught again and surprisingly not reprimanded by Prince Maekar. The scene has a whole lot of back and forth, and we're shown how very different Baelor is from his more brash and rude brother Maekar. Baelor surprisingly remembers Arlen. He remembers that he never won a tourney despite having a long career as a hedge knight. But most importantly, he remembers that time he himself faced Arlen at the tourney at Storm's End. It took 4 lances to finally unseat the hedge knight. Dunk claims 7, but Baelor doubles down on 4. Dunk gets red in the face, dropping to one knee, begging for mercy. And yet again, Baelor shows he's a decent, if not kind person, saying Dunk did no harm and telling him to rise. It's not out of character for a lordling to forget a commoner or a man-at-arms, and for the person who remembers one to be a prince no less, speaks volumes of how different Baelor is. Tanzel treats us to the tale of Florian the Fool, a man who tries to rise above and be a hero. The story mirrors our hero Dunk, who even gets a few words with Tanzel, seemingly making a fool of himself, something he calls out. But Tanzel says all men are fools and all men are knights. This is a very humanizing scene for our tall fellow. He's young and inexperienced with women, saying Tanzel's not too tall for, but thankfully Egg butts in and says for puppets, which is a bit of a shame, as Dunk stumbling through his embarrassed words himself would have worked better, similar to that in the novella. Dunk and Egg sit in the pavilion watching Lord Lionel Baratheon ready for a tug-of-war. Dunk and Egg's bond is expanded on as Lord Baratheon recruits them for his team. The tug-of-war is fun, Lionel is having a good time, and the group even wins. As the night joust readies, Dunk makes a visit in search of some proper armor. We meet Steely Pate, who only sells good steel, and none of the liveries lords and upjump knights like. Dunk realizes he's kind of broke at the moment, and Steely Pate helps him out. He's willing to sell armor to Dunk at a discount, but for 2 stags, he's willing to hold the armor for a day, so Dunk can have time to get more coin. Dunk unfortunately has to sell one of his horses. It's a semi-emotional scene for a horse that we've really only seen a little bit of. But Dunk gets the money, so he's able to purchase the armor. Then the night joust begins, with Lord Medgar Tully prancing in front of an excited crowd. He tears the head off a trout using only his teeth, and the crowd erupts in cheers. Then we see Lionel, Leo Tyrell, a Hightower, and who I believe is Sirs Humphrey Harding and Humphrey Beesbury, 2 friends of Lionel who we briefly see in episode 1. But the standout here has to be Prince Valar, eldest son of Baelor. It's unsurprisingly fun, and we see Leo Tyrell be knocked from his horse, only to steal another, reach down to lift a shield, and it's a shame we don't get to see the whole event, or at least find out who the victor was. But it's more important that we get to Dunk, who seems to be realizing he may be in over his head. He's thinking of Arlen and begins to accept that he was never a great knight, and starts to grow insecure that he was a hedge knight, as Dunk is now. It seems that the pressure is making him question everything, which is understandable, but one's actions in life are more important than their career of the individual. Dunk realizes he's Arlen's legacy and seems intent on being the best he can be, giving a quite emotional speech at the end of the episode. Going through the episode a few times has really helped me cement episode 2 as better than the pilot. The humor has been toned down, or at least it didn't detract from what was going on. Aside from, of course, Arlen's third leg, but even then, that felt more for shock than humor. Again, the performances by everyone are splendid, with Dexter Soul Ansel being able to sell who Egg is very well. He captures the vibe of the character, and he may even be the best child actor in the whole franchise, really standing tall amongst the more seasoned actors. Armor and costumes are perfect. Both Valar and the Kingsguard have breathtaking armor, especially the Kingsguard with the book-accurate look. I do hope they continue to use this look and tweak it only slightly in the future, because it blows Hot D and Thrones' Kingsguard out of the water. Some stuff I wasn't a fan of is definitely the Donald of Duskendale switch-up and shoehorning Lord Ashford's daughter Gwyn into a scene that makes her seem reckless and unbothered by a man spying on her father and the royals. My hope is for episode 3 to be even better than this one, so I'll catch you guys there. Bye-bye.